everyone, and welcome to the WCA Sensor Converge Recap. We still have people joining, but we are happy to have you here. Slight change in the agenda today. Joining me as my co-host will be Andy Doe, and we'll talk to Andy in a minute. But I wanted to introduce this event to everybody again, and thank you for being here with us. The Sensor Converge event was held at the San Jose Convention Center last week, just before the 4th of July holiday. And it really felt like the first time we had people collaborating and being back together in a fairly good size. It was an exciting time, and it was really exciting for us at the WCA, and quite a learning experience for us as well, in that it was the first time we've tried to have an event where we actually were live at the event. And so we were recording interviews with interesting companies, sponsors of the WCA who were at the event, and we just had we had an interesting time with doing that. And since we're not professional videographers and don't always have the most professional equipment, which we are fixing, you will see some microphone cords. You might see a laptop or two pop up into a video shot. We're learning, but we think the content will speak for itself and should be useful for everyone. And I hope you find it useful, because we'd like to do more of these events in the future. Some logistics for the webinar, for those of you who have not participated before. If you have questions, simply click on the Q&A box on the bottom of your screen. Ask any question you'd like. Keep in mind, some of this content is pre-recorded, and so I will be monitoring the Q&A box and get to all your questions as soon as we can. And so with that, I'd like to introduce my co-host, Andy Doe. Andy, welcome, and thank you for filling in at the last minute. It's always a pleasure to have you here. For those of you regulars to the WCA events, Andy is a board member of the Wireless Communications Alliance, and he's also the CEO of Embedded Works, Tracking for Less, Sensor Works, Wi-Fi Works, and I can't even keep track of all of them. Andy,
me too.
Have you started the company this week? I mean, come on. Yeah, so lots of interesting things going on with Andy. So Andy, thanks again for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tom. And yeah, it was certainly a wonderful event, given the last 2 years have been a little slow for trade shows. So I'd love to talk about what I saw and what you saw. And
yeah. So I'm going to start with the first snafu of the event. For those of you who are on now, you'll notice that Andy and I are not at the show. And I actually interviewed Andy at the event. However, sound and video quality didn't go so well. And so Andy and I will try to recreate that event live here today with you all. But before we get started there, thank you again for joining. Andy, high-level observations. You were an exhibitor. Yep. The WCA, by the way, was an exhibitor.
Yeah.
And as it worked out, we were right next to each other, which was kind of fun. Tell me your observations of the show from an interested party perspective, not as an exhibitor.
Yeah. I think for one, the Sensors Expo, and now Sensors Converge, as it's called, I think it's great that they actually set a pavilion for the wireless and IoT, right, which is what we're all about. So I think it was great that both our booth and WCA was in that pavilion. But I was generally pleased with the traffic, and we actually attended the Sensor Expo and exhibited in, I guess, September, October of last year, which they pushed out due to the whole COVID concern, and that was very light. But this year, it's felt like, there were more people from afar. I mean, we have people from Florida, that flew over to the Sensors show. So I think people are really feeling like trade shows are okay to come to, and that I think the other thing that was impressive, just the agenda that Sensors Converge had. They had all these speakers, they had all these tracks. So it really felt like end to end, like, from just the traffic, the booth, the agenda. It felt like what you would normally see, in 2019.
Yeah, and thanks for that, Andy. I'd have to agree. I wandered around the show quite a bit with Marcel, and we were looking at what people were talking about. The foot traffic was pretty significant, which was fantastic to see. The interest in sensors, it has grown exponentially, and people are starting to understand that, if they haven't already, sensors are a part of our life. They're not going away. There's going to be more and more and more sensors in the marketplace. And the key to making these sensors work is communications, right? So much like we have many events that are corollary to the wireless industry, but the things that make all of these things work will be communications. And the interesting thing I saw was the disparate types of communications networks that were being shown at the event. It's not just Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and LTE. And so I was very encouraged seeing all of that, and seeing the level of engagement at the booths. I'm going to jump over to the Embedded Works booth, because you've turned that in, it's like you were giving away crack at the booth, because you had a lot of traffic. And
we were the envy of our row for sure. Yeah.
I loved the fact that you took the opportunity to really showcase technology in action, not just talking about, oh, here's Embedded Works, here's our website, but you showed technology. And I was interested when I was there to understand, you were really showing a lot of different networks, which was interesting. The primary one you were showing was Helium. And for our audience, most of what you've heard about Helium over the last year has really been focused on the crypto mining, and people were rushing to set up this people's network and have the opportunity to earn as a carrier might by this crypto mining business. Andy and the Embedded Works team have taken a different tact, and I think it's an interesting one that I'd like to spend a minute on, Andy. And that's, you're talking about applications on this network. And so can you take us through that and your thinking there?
Yeah. I mean, as you've alluded to, Helium is built on the Lorawan wireless protocol, which has a great benefit to IoT. It's long range, it's low power, and it's just fast enough to do IoT sensory things. So hence the technology is perfect for sensors like temperature, humidity, even GPS tracking, right? It doesn't need that much data. And, yes, has been a movement these last couple of years of building out the Helium network. So if you go to explorer.helium.com, you'll see it almost looks like a carrier coverage now, almost, right? And it's done by the people, and that's their mantra, powered by the people, people's network. But at the end of the day, you build a network to use it for something. And what Embedded Works has done with its two brands for tracking for less, and Sensor Works, I think some of the brands are listed here. We take on the approach that here's this beautiful network, very low cost to jump on. What can you do with it? And so we've displayed a variety of things, from a soil moisture sensor that works on Helium, a GPS tracker that works on the Helium network. I think we've had, a variety of like door open sensors. So things that you would find in a smart home or smart building can now be realized with this network. we have looked at the economics. It is a fraction of the cost to run. And by the way, it's super low power. So if you had a AA battery and ping it once a day, I mean, that thing could last for 2 years. So they're all the benefits of IoT there. And as you mentioned, sensors is kind of all the rage because the edge of IoT, this word that we keep using, and at the end of the day, it doesn't mean a thing if people, don't apply it. And that's what we're hoping to do.
Fantastic. And I don't know if anybody besides me was as excited about the other network you were sharing, but it was Halo.
Yeah.
And for our audience, you probably don't even know what Halo is. You've probably never heard of it before. But to me, it represents the next interesting area for wireless deployment. So Andy, first, what the heck is Halo?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's not a Beyonce song, and it's not the video game. Halo, HALOW, is a new wireless standard ratified by the Wi-Fi Alliance. So it is a legit standard, and its official designation is 802.11ah, so AKA Halo. And Halo is amazing in that it's the first Wi-Fi standard that really truly does long range, right? I mean, you could put a Wi-Fi radio today in a 802.11n or G, and you can use a special antenna. Again, you could do all these tricks, but natively, the Halo technology can do multi-kilometer range, and it has a speed of, in the right environment, 10 megabits. Type per second. So you can, surf the internet in the right environment with it long range. So our partner Neuracom, who is a South Korean chip maker, exhibited in our booth and showed some really cool things where, you could do IP cameras. And so there's a need to really have long range where you would say LoRaWAN is the small data packet, and you would say 5G is this large data packet. But what about medium size? So there's a need for medium size in the market, and I think Halo is that technology.
So Andy, take us through that. So give us an idea of payload size in LoRaWAN, Halo, just so our audience can get a better sense of it.
Yeah, so Halo can roughly be 100 times the speed of LoRaWAN, right? But it certainly can't do the distance of LoRaWAN. So LoRaWAN, and I have experiences this. I have a Helium LoRaWAN, miner in our office, and with an 8 dBi antenna Omni, I'm able to get 60 kilometers, right? So I'm able to have that distance because I'm doing coverage. But I can't use LoRaWAN to do things like bringing up a web page. I can't do that for really high density type of things. Whereas Halo allows you to do extremely high density, thousands or almost 10,000 nodes per Halo access point, right? But the distance is probably somewhere along the line of maybe 2 to 3 kilometers, which is still pretty darn far.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Original Wi-Fi speak. So yeah, again, think of it as the medium size, medium range, speed and distance.
And Andy, can you just address the economics? Let's talk about the economics. Everybody's always concerned about the cost of wireless networks, and so clearly, if you're getting smaller bandwidth, there potentially could be some economic benefit.
Yeah.
Can you address that a bit?
Sure. I mean, Tracking for Less, for example, has been selling cellular-based trackers for quite a long time. So we'll use a SIM card and connect to one of the major carriers in the U.S. And the Tracking for Less brand itself is a value play. And we have enterprise features, but we'll do, whether we do $12 or $15 a month or something for basic service on the Helium network, because it's such low cost. And keep in mind, the tower is no longer run by a company; it's run by individuals like you and me who have miners, and so the cost of the operating cost really goes way down. So we could essentially service somebody for $12, $15 a year, right? And it just the cost of it is just so low. And again, it has its pros and cons, right? It's not well penetrated like cellular, but cellular had 30, 40 years head start, right, to build out those towers. And Helium, Lorawan is able to do that in a matter of 3 to 4. So pretty amazing, coverage in this short amount of time.
That's I mean, $15 a year, that's significant. That's a crazy number.
Right.
I'm curious from your perspective, you're sort of on the bleeding edge of providing apps on Helium. What are customers' feedback like? When it comes to, you think about traditional wireless deployments, everyone's always talking about quality of service, network downtime, et cetera. How do you work with that? Or what are the customers' reaction to that on a people's network where I'm running the base station at my place, you're running the base station at your place?
Yeah.
So can you talk to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the old old adage is you get what you pay for sometimes. So if you run on the people's network, you are at the mercy of the coverage that it covers. So if you're in a metro area like the Bay Area, in cities, you're going to be covered, and you're going to connect to someone's tower / miner. But if you happen to be, in more rural areas, where, for example, case in point, I mean, I went to Yosemite taking a Helium tracker, and I was able to see trails of Helium, or the Helium was able to connect with my tracker up to about Manteca, the foothills, and then from there it got really shoddy. Whereas, if you go to Yosemite on cellular, you're still going to get cellular signal for the most part. So, you have to weigh coverage with that. And that's just the nature of it. But in return, if you are a delivery service that just, does 20, 50, 100-mile radiuses in a city, and you never go to, the Sierras, that's an alternative that you really have to think about. Does it make sense for me to pay more to get, dots on a map?
Well, and I think one of the things that just hit me when you were talking was, if you're a farmer and you're putting sensors out in the field, and there's no coverage, you can just put a base station up.
Absolutely
I mean,
right.
unlike any of the other wireless applications, when you hear that, hey, I'm in rural America and I'd like to have some wireless coverage on my XYZ area, I can just go buy a base station and I'm up and running.
Absolutely right.
So
Yeah.
I guess that's the counter argument to the carrier argument. So it didn't occur to me ahead of time, but that's
It's
great
a
value.
great counter, Tom. And in fact, a carrier once told me, and I won't say who, they said to me, we will not build a tower for anything less than anything under 400 acres. So if you are an area and you said, I have 400 acres and I need cell service, they're not going to do it. If you use the Lorawan DIYT, build your own tower, kind of thing, then you could set up a Lorawan gateway, Helium gateway, and it would cover for miles, and then you, the farmer, can use your sensors for soil moisture, water, irrigation, whatever. So it really is cool that, you can set up your network affordably and not rely on, cellular as long range.
Fantastic. And we're going to learn more about Helium and Lorawan in our next event, and we'll talk about that later. But Andy will be hosting our next event at the end of July, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. I need you to take off your vendor hat again and be my co-host.
Okay.
One of the things you alluded to was sensors, of the prevalence of sensors and how they're fitting in everywhere. One of the challenges of sensors everywhere and any place, besides network coverage, is the other piece you alluded to, battery life. And we talked to a few companies in the wireless power space at the event that are addressing this notion of battery-free power. And so with that, let's go take a look at our first interview. I spoke with Caesar Johnston, the CEO of Energis, and let's go to that video now.
Cool.
We'll talk about it on the other side.
All right.
Welcome, everyone. We're here at Sensor Converge, and I'm sitting down with Caesar Johnson, the CEO of Energous Corp. Caesar, good to see you again.
Tom, likewise.
And I've noticed here today you're talking about evaluation kits and developer kits. Tell me a little bit about that.
Definitely. As you know, Energous is a company developing semiconductors and systems for energy harvesting, specifically wireless power networks. And it is important for us to make sure that our technology is well understood, and we want our potential customers to learn about that. So we provide these solutions as a way for them to have access to these technologies and learn how to deploy and how these technologies actually operate.
And so you're hoping that customers will not only gain experience in wireless power and energy harvesting, but that they could build their own product using your technology.
Yes, the idea here is if you look at the evaluation kits, they have two components. One component is a transmitter. That's a fixed transmitter that's 1 watt fully certified device that they can use and they can share for multiple applications and multiple markets. And then on the receiver side, depending on the applications that we have two different evaluation kits. One for RF tags and one that is very generic with a partner by the name of Acknowledgements that develops extremely low power BLE devices.
Fantastic. And have you delivered these evaluation kits before? Are they brand new?
Yes. So in the case of the RF tags, that's a partnership that we have with a company called Wiliot, which is an Israeli company, which is ahead of everyone out there trying to come up with the next generation of what I call RFID replacement. So these are BLE low power tags that get power without battery using our transmitters, and those are available through the Wiliot website. And they do have our transmitter as well as a number of their low power RFID devices. And that's mainly a device that you can use for, let's say, asset tracking applications. And then we do have one evaluation kit with a MOSIC that we are announcing in the next couple of weeks or making it available in the next couple of weeks, by which you have this transmitter, very similar to the Wiliot transmitter, and in fact it's pretty much the same, and it has this very generic BLE-based MOSIC development platform that you can actually build with different types of receivers.
Okay. And so we're at the Sensor Show. What do you hope to accomplish here at the Sensor Show, and how does wireless power fit in with sensors in general?
Yes, so sensors are today very low power devices. There are devices that depend a lot on batteries, and some of them on wires. At Energous, we're removing wireless, we're removing batteries, and what we can do for sensors is effectively combine those sensors, let's say with an MOSIC device, provide them with the capability of receiving power, and then being able to share data and communicating that to a transmitter. And by doing that, you can actually have now a system that interoperates with your RF tags or with your MOSIC devices, and different types of sensors, depending on the power levels, you'll be able to deploy it seamlessly without much of a problem in industrial applications, retail applications, medical applications, or smart homes and offices, which is where we are really focused.
Well, wireless sensors make total sense. People want flexibility to place them in different locations, and having a solution that's can be in having that flexibility, and then having the additional flexibility of no battery. That's a game changer in this business, because in the IoT space, regardless, pick an industry, any one of them, one of the big challenges, even if you're using a point cell battery that lasts a year, is when you have hundreds of thousands of these sensors in the field, who changes the batteries?
Exactly.
Right,
so you just pointed out one other dimension that I should have mentioned, which is you remove batteries, we remove wires, but we add mobility on top of this, which means that you can actually have static mobility by placing these components in different places in your room, or dynamic mobility, which is basically on the go, where things are moving around. So definitely, so those three are the parameters that we bring in with this new technology that I think sensors can benefit and take advantage of.
Fantastic. And Caesar, if people want to learn more about, they can go to the Wiliot site to purchase some of the products there.
But how do they learn more about the evaluation kits and
Yes.
either sign up or purchase these kits?
Yeah, so please go to our website, www.energist.com, and you will find there a link to the evaluation kits. And as you enter your information, we will contact you, and you'll be able to access the technology and be able to get support from us to be able to develop your potential products.
That's fantastic. Cesar Johnson, thanks so much from the Sensor Expo. We'll be following up soon.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Nice to see you again.
All right. Well, some feedback for everybody. That was our first live interview, and as you heard, there was a bit of background noise. We're going to address that in the next event that we have. But we're learning on the job, and our director of photography is having a stroke at the moment because he's not happy with the sound quality. But hopefully, everyone got the gist of my discussion with Cesar. Andy, this is interesting, right? I mean, this is this whole notion. Wireless power is just the beginning, and everybody has been talking about wireless power as something that could happen, 20, 30 years from now, like the Jetsons. But it's around and it's available, and several companies are now have these evaluation kits where people can experiment with the idea of wireless power and start building products. So we have, we've heard from Energist. In the past, we've worked with companies like Etherdyne Technologies, who have an evaluation kit that's available through eval at etherdyne.net. And next we have PowerCast. So curious, as somebody who's been deploying sensors and deploying networks for a while, what's your take on this wireless power and battery-free solutions?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, being a wireless guy, I'm not excluded from, exclusive to wireless data. I mean, I love wireless power just the same. And I think this is kind of this wave that's coming, and I think Energist has a pretty cool market approach that we're going to bring you the wireless chips, just like they're wireless chips from the data side. There's Wi-Fi chips, there's cellular chips, and these guys are doing wireless energy chips, right? And that starts the kind of the snowball effect of what can I put that chip in. And I've just checked out their site, and they've got like a hearing aid developer kit. So, things that you put down and never want to plug in. And again, I mean, why aren't they wireless, and glasses and things. So I think there's a wave of wireless energy, and there's so many products that have yet to been realized, with this. And I mean, I love, he's talking about the smart home, and, how there's an RFID replacement capability. And I think for those who are new to wireless power, you see like, oh, it's cool as it turns on little lights and remote things, but you can actually power legitimately everyday, electronics. And I see a day when, you just go to a Starbucks or wherever, and you just place your stuff down, and, you use surface area now becomes, wireless surface area, charging. So I love it. And I think that we're going to see more of it.
No, and while we're there, I want to introduce our next interview. I met with the team at PowerCast. Similar approach. Both of these guys are using 900 megahertz to generate RF power at a distance, and they're both talking about 1 watt devices that are pushing the boundaries of limits that you can actually send this power. And so let's listen to this and come back on the other side of and talk about more about wireless power. We're here at Sensor Converge with Charlie Green. Charlie, good to see you again.
See you, Tom.
Tell us about the show, what's new at PowerCast, and why are you here at the Sensor Show?
Well, obviously, our technology is a very horizontal technology, goes into a lot of different end applications. So we're here showing a bunch of different applications, including sensors. The newest thing we have is a partnership with InPlay that we announced on Monday. We're powering a Bluetooth beacon over 120 feet away from our power spot transmitter.
Can you show us that?
Yeah, it's right here. So this is our power spot transmitter. And what it's doing, it's sending out RF. And then our receiver chip is, along with the InPlay BLE chip, is on this board receiving that energy. And when it has enough energy, it beacons back to the tablet to show the BLE data. That'll work at 120 feet away from the power spot, and at 120 feet, it's providing a beacon every minute. We also have a smaller version of it, which is here. Uses a much smaller antenna. This works at about 80 feet from our power spot transmitter.
And all of these are using the power spot transmitter. And what's the power you're transmitting out of that?
So the power spot transmitter puts out 915 megahertz and 1 watt of RF energy.
Okay, terrific. And 120 feet, that's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, our previous best was 80 feet. Now we're up to 120 feet. We're looking to push that even farther here in the future.
What else are you showing here? I see you've got some tags.
Yeah, so these are electronic shelf labels for grocery and retail setting where you want to do price changes. The interesting thing about these particular tags is they have no batteries. So
completely battery free.
Completely battery free. They get all of their energy from RF, and that RF is used then to get pricing data and to update the screen. The nice thing about these tags is after 5 years, you don't have to go back and change the batteries because they don't have any batteries at all.
Well, as you know, the biggest challenge in IoT today and in sensors in general is everything requires a battery. And it's all well and good until 10,000 batteries need to be changed. Who does that? Right? So that's
exactly
quite an accomplishment.
Well, and in the ESL market, it's more than 10,000 batteries. It can be millions
That's
of batteries.
right. No, so I'm just talking one single location is 10,000.
Yeah,
right?
it's a lot.
Now you
of
have a whole
batteries.
chain and multiply that, right? So that's quite
so the technology can really save a lot of batteries from going into landfill.
And so let's talk through logistics of let's say a grocery store that's using tags. So you have a transmitter up in the ceiling someplace, right? I'm assuming.
Well, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can have infrastructure like that and have transmitters on the ceiling that are sending energy down to cover the aisles and the shelves.
Okay.
You could also have an associate with a handheld scanner. So that's not much different than sending the associate around to change the paper tags, but you do eliminate the human error because everything's electronic and automated. And what we implemented at CES was a solution that was robotic. So we had RFID readers mounted on the Badger robot that we partnered with that would go around the store, and as it's doing the checking the inventory, checking the prices and looking for spills, it was also updating the pricing on the tags using the RF from the robot.
Wow, and is that a commercially available solution right now? Or is it just a proof of concept?
It's still proof of concept. We're working with Badger on that and looking to do some trials here later this year.
That's phenomenal. So no touch, no real infrastructure to put in place.
Right. And it piggybacks on an existing solution that's already starting to go into stores that's doing other things for the retailers.
So they get a bigger bang for their buck.
Exactly.
And price accuracy is just completely managed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fantastic. Anything else we can talk about today?
Well, we're pretty excited too about what we're calling the bathroom of the future. So if you have an electronic toothbrush, one of the problems there is you have the inductive base.
Which is always a pain.
There's cords running all over your countertop, especially if you have more than one. So what we're doing right now is working with some oral care companies right now to create a small little transmitter like this that just plugs into your outlet and can create a coverage area over your vanity to power things like your electronic toothbrushes, but also things like water picks and shavers and other types of devices. Because our technology is a one-to-many, it's a great fit. You can have a lot of different devices on that countertop, all being recharged from a single transmitter.
That's fantastic. Charlie, it was great catching up with you today. Enjoy the rest of the show.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Live from Sensor Converge.
You're on mute, Tom.
So Andy, similar technology running in the same spectrum,
Yeah.
creating similar amounts of energy. Here we saw some actual product, which was really interesting, because the power cache transmitter that you saw in that photograph or in that video it's about 5 inches wide by 1.5 inches deep by 1.5 inches high. So it's very small, and you could put that any place. When Caesar was talking, they have these flat panels that are about 5 by 7, and are also connected and pushing energy out to a distance. But I just think that that's, they're in this low power range, right? They're taking advantage of the similar things like you are at Embedded Works with low bandwidth networks. These are low power devices. These are things that require milliwatts of power, right? And can have no battery. You saw, I felt the pain in the bathroom of the future. One of the interesting things Charlie was talking about is they have basically what looks like a plug that plugs into a wall, a little power supply plugs into a wall, and it's pushing energy across the countertop. My bathroom, my wife wouldn't admit to this, has cords everywhere. I mean, how you make it through the bathroom, I have no idea.
I want one of those wireless toothbrushes personally. I mean, that's
me too. I was trying to steal one while we were there, but they wouldn't let me take it. So, but I think this whole wireless power thing is really getting interesting. And so, I think that was a great piece, and you can see the applicability between sensors and communications and power, and how they are all so tightly interconnected. And so I hope everyone is getting the idea behind some of this. The next company we talked to is a long-term sponsor and supporter of the WCA. Most of you have never heard of them. We're going to talk about ASBIL's North American Research and Development Center in Santa Clara. And we caught up with Jeremy Toll, who is also a member of the WCA and one of our VPs on the WCA. But we talked to Jeremy about ASBIL North America Research. So let's go to that video.
We're here at the Sensor Converge show with Jeremy Toll from ASBIL North American Research and Development Center. Jeremy, good to see you.
Good to see you, Tom.
So tell us a little bit about ASBIL North American Research and Development. What are you guys focusing on there?
Well, we're an innovation, R&D, and technology scouting center that was founded in 2014. And our specialty is wireless communications and control, wireless power, AI, machine learning, and non-invasive sensors.
And do you focus on specific markets with those technologies? Do you look at through a specific lens?
Yeah, we're a subsidiary of a current company in Japan that is focused on building automation and industrial control. So we offer sensors, we offer full systems in those different areas for large buildings, energy optimization, HVAC systems, and things like manufacturing, factory automation, oil and gas, as well as process control.
And is your business primarily in Asia, or do you do business globally?
Largely in Asia. The company was founded in 1906 in Asia with the name of Yamataki, and there was some relationship with Honeywell in the mid-century of 1900s, and we had a joint venture called Yamataki Honeywell, and roughly 20 years ago we changed our name to ASBIL. But a large amount of the business has been in Asia traditionally, and we're starting to try to push it into Europe and North America.
And how do people learn about what ASBIL's doing and some of your solutions that are in the market?
Well, we have a sales and marketing team in North America that is promoting products. We also have ASBIL's website, www.asbil.com, and we're doing more evangelism in our R&D and Innovation Center, trying to promote new products and new technologies and get people excited about looking at ASBIL solutions.
Terrific. And so in your role as an advocate for technology, you go out and seek new technology companies, younger companies?
Yes,
that are,
we do.
And can you give us some examples of some of those type of technologies?
Well, the technologies we look at are things that would augment things that we don't currently have. So things like wireless power solutions. We've also looked to wireless communications and things for control systems for robotics and things along those lines. We look at IoT platforms and as well as working with universities on things like sensors, and we do a lot of university research sponsorship.
I saw recently an announcement that you're working with Berkeley. What's that all about?
Well, we work with 3 centers in Berkeley. We have a long-time relationship with BSAC, the Berkeley Sensor and Actuator Center. We recently joined Berkeley Wireless Research Center. These are pretty major centers with, among others, Qualcomm, Intel, and Apple that are members. We also recently joined the Center for the Built Environment, which focuses more on building automation solutions and has more builders and architects as well as solutions providers such as Asbill.
Terrific. Well, Jeremy, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. Enjoy the show.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, well, I hope everyone learned something about Asbill there. Many of us know them pretty well, but most of you probably don't. Andy, before you became involved with the WCA, did you know anything about Asbill?
Not a thing.
And so that I think that's pretty common. But the really interesting thing, given that we are based in Silicon Valley, the team at Asbill is engaged with younger companies, innovative companies that can help provide missing pieces of solutions to their building automation, factory automation, process business. And Asbill makes a ton of sensors. We talk about the sensor show. Asbill has a bunch, whether it's HVAC or occupancy sensors or thermostats, et cetera. They're all over the map with sensors and solutions in the marketplace. And I've seen them working with some really innovative technologies, and you see the stuff they're doing at university over at Berkeley. They're way in front of this. So wondered if you could comment on that.
I mean, just one comment on what I've noticed about the Sensors Converge show is that you have one section are kind of discrete sensors. You've got kind of chip level, embedded module level. So if you want to go build a sensor, you go to that row, right? And then if you go a little bit further, if you want to go connect a sensor, you go to that row, right? And then same thing goes for wireless, energy. You want to build a product, or you want to use a product. And so, I think the Sensors Converge is nice because it has just kind of a smattering of build versus buy. And, with today's, momentum of having smart sensors, and what is smart? It seems like anything connected to the internet is called smart. That's the thing is, some of the things that our company, Embedded Works and SensorWorks, is working on is have, anything IP connected. It may be Lorawan as a medium to transfer that, data, or it may be Wi-Fi, or maybe whatever, right? But yeah, I think smart sensors is going to be important. And, as a out-of-the-box experience, you want to be able to realize that on your mobile app or your dashboard. Discrete sensors take some engineering skills, right? So that's a different clientele.
No, 100%. And since we're in the sensor space, I was able to catch up with the team at Superior Sensors at the event, and talk about specialized. They do some really interesting. Well, actually, before we go to specialized, let's go to Renesas. Renesas also specialty sensors, IoT, silicon-based products and solutions in the marketplace. Pretty interesting company. So let's go there, and then we'll jump into Superior Sensors, since we are talking sensors.
We're here at Sensor Converge at the Renesas booth, and I'm here with Dirk Seidel, and we're going to talk about what's going on at Renesas. So hi, Dirk. Good to see you again.
Nice meeting you.
So tell us about the show. I heard the stand on earlier in the week. You made an announcement.
Yeah, we have a pretty good show. We got lots of customers coming by, looking at our products, looking at our new Zmod sensor, asking about our MCU and also our conductivity product. So at this show, we announced our new Zmod 4510 sensor, which is an environmental sensor. In particular, can sense ozone, but it also can sense a variety of other gases like CO2 and non-volatile compounds. So it's a very universal sensor, and you can change. The beauty of this is you can change the sensing gases with just simple firmware change.
And you guys are known for having development platforms, etc., to folks. Can you talk a little bit?
Yeah, that's correct. So the big advantage, what we developed here at Renaissance, in particular in the system and solution team, is our Renaissance Quick Connect IoT. It's basically a platform concept where we can choose between a variety of different MCUs. They all have a PMOD connector, and then all our sensors have are available as a PMOD module as well. And we work together with Digiland on a new standard, on the 6A standard, so you can cascade multiple PMODs together if you have only limited ports available. So you can build an array of sensor network. Then the other beauty is that we defined a unified software, a unified API. So no matter which sensor or which MCU are you using, the way how you configure and how you read the sensor is the same, which uses 100 lines of code to just 4 lines of code.
That's pretty significant. And if people want to learn more about your solutions, where can they go?
Yeah, they can go to renaissance.com and check out our product, or go to Renaissance Quick Connect and see our Quick Connect offering.
Perfect. Well, Dirk, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, thanks.
So Andy, Dirk had an interesting, and the Renaissance team have an interesting perspective. They build silicon, they build sensors, they build a developer kit to help get that time to market reduced. Again, to your point earlier, if you want to buy a sensor, if you want to design a sensor, if you want to utilize a sensor, I know you and your team focus on sensors that are in the market, not necessarily designing sensors and enabling those sensors to work in a system.
Right.
And this is a different approach. So you have guys like Asbill building sensors for specific markets. You have Renesas building a variety of sensors in the IoT space with a developer kit. And we're going to jump to a video now with Superior Sensors. They have a platform called NimbleSense, which is focused on, talking about specialties, pressure sensors, and the markets that it can serve. So let's go to that video.
We're at the Sensor Converge show with Anthony Gioeli. Anthony, good to see you. Tell us a little bit about Superior Sensors.
Sure. Well, Superior Sensor, we develop intelligent pressure sensors focused on the industrial, HVAC, and medical markets. As opposed to a traditional pressure sensor, we have a unique architecture, NimbleSense, that's really a system in a sensor architecture. So we put a lot of intelligent electronics within our sensor that enables you to have a lot of different features and capabilities that we can configure and turn on or off depending on the end application. So we call these application optimized pressure sensors, unlike a traditional pressure sensor that you just purchase and then the designer has to figure out how to configure it for their specific application.
Gotcha. And I thought I read that you guys announced something here at the show.
Yes, we did. Yeah. One of our unique features is a proprietary technology we call multi-range. And multi-range technology allows one sensor to support up to 8 calibrated pressure ranges. So a product designer, instead of having to design, if they have a design that requires multiple sensors, instead of having to source different sensors with different capabilities, they can use one sensor for their entire product line. Or if they wanted to expand their product line without having to redesign their PCB or alter their software, they can easily introduce product derivatives by just with one simple software command, changing the pressure ranges for those different products.
And that product is in the market now.
Yes, it is. Yes, in fact, that multi-range technology is across all of our differential pressure sensors. And what we did with our announcement is, being that this technology is widely adopted, adopted in the marketplace, we have now basically have quotes from a lot of our different customers that are using technology and how it's helped them either in their development or in their marketing of their product to have a unique solution out there.
So tell us a little bit about your typical customer.
So typical customer, again, we support three different market segments. So on the medical side, we work closely with spirometry, CPAP, and ventilator manufacturers.
Okay.
So a little bit more of a longer development cycle, especially for ventilators. But these are all the major players within those market segments. In the HVAC, we work with companies like JCI, Dwyer, and others, where they're looking at solutions either to control airflow, monitor air filters, ensure clean rooms are kept as clean rooms. And then on the industrial side, we're working with companies in different segments with particle counting, air quality, as well as companies looking at UAV and other unique applications where pressure sensors help ensure you maintain the accuracy of altitude and speed of your device.
Terrific. And how can people learn more about the company?
Okay, so a couple ways that they can come to our website, which is www.superiorsensors.com. You could also look us up on YouTube, where we have our YouTube channel, where a lot of our product benefits and we have several application videos there. So if you go to YouTube, just look up Superior Sensor Technology.
Terrific. Anthony, thanks for taking the time
Tom,
to talk
thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, so there Anthony was taking a different tack with real specialty sensors for very specific applications requiring pressure. So I think from a market perspective, we've gone from providers of solutions and sensors when we talked to you, Andy. We went to wireless power for having these sensors remote in the field and getting power and connectivity. And then we talked to the variety of sensor people in the marketplace. So I think we're starting to complete this picture, and was interested if you had, as your perspective of Renesas and your Superior.
Yeah, with the Renesas one, I thought was interesting because they kind of took the whole, I would say, kind of the, I wouldn't say open hardware approach, but like Arduino and Raspberry Pi, they have these hats and you kind of stack, and then that's kind of the baseline of building your product. And then of course you make a whole product out of it. So I like how they did their quick connect IoT as a proof of concept. But I've seen customers take development kits and make a product out of it because it's 95% of what they need anyways. And Superior Sensors, which is great to know that they're a local Bay Area, Los Gatos company here. Yeah, I mean, they said, we're going to do one thing really well. We're going to do pressure, pressure sensors really, really well. And it seems like a lot of their customers are medical based, which I get that, ventilators and things. And I'm sure there are other applications for pressure, like HVAC. But yeah, again, the variety of sensors is really great to see, because I've been exhibiting at Sensors Expo or Sensors Converge for probably the 5th or 6th year. And there was a time when there weren't too many connected sensors. Now there's more and more of them. So I think this is just the start, and I love the fact that now there are companies like SensorWorks and others who are building sensor dashboards. Like let's not forget that platform matters, right? UI matters, and so when you have all these sensors, there's no perfect sensor for every application. So how do you stitch that together? And that's what we try to do, is that we try to find the best of breed in the industry. We're not a manufacturer of the sensor, but what we do is bring that to solve problems, and that's what it's all about.
Did you just leave my role as co-host and jump back into your business?
I think I did. Can't help.
So but while we're there, I mean, I would like you to talk through that because again, I think you're taking an interesting holistic view of this marketplace and really trying to provide solutions and make those solutions easier. And so you talked about stitching everything together, but you also have a actual cloud-based platform
Yeah.
and you showed it at the event. So
Yeah.
we didn't hit on that because I was so excited about the networks you were showing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the platform matters. Like I said, at the end of the day, if I'm selling you a kit or offering a kit to solve, like, did you close the garage door or did you whatever? I mean, a consumer is not going to take an embedded board and solder and do the programming. They want to have the experience that they would get from a Nest thermostat, right? You open the box, you download the app, and you get to monitor and do that. And that's just, you're going to find a whole industry, and not just us, but there's a whole industry of doing out of the box sensors. And I think sensor quality and accuracy is one thing, but sensor UI design is another. I mean, that matters. And as we're seeing, having ease of use and consumer friendly is really something that we're trying to focus on. Although some of our customers are B2B, they do care how good the dashboard is to use. And on top of that, if you have a great sensor and you have a great platform, doesn't mean your platform is the only one. Some of our customers said, hey, I want to be able to API to your platform. You've done 80% of the lifting. You've basically standardized the protocol, the sensor to some JSON file, but I want to be able to now take that from your platform to put it on my industry specific platform. And so there's a whole new sector of that.
No, so it's really interesting because we've gone from sensors and networks and power and services. And the last video I want to share is really about how people get started in this space. A lot of times, we are in the Valley, and the company that we talked to has been around for 43 years in the Valley, helping people in this space design and develop solutions. So why don't we quickly take a look at the Volar Systems video and come back on the backside.
Live from Sensor Converge, I'm here with Walt McClay from Volar Systems. Hey, Walt, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Tell us a little bit about Volar. Give us a little background on what you guys are doing.
Well, we do design services. We design electronics, particularly for wearable devices and IoT. So we've got expertise in sensors and wireless communication, which is just right for this field.
Perfect. And how's the traffic been for you guys today, this show?
The show's been good. We've got some people that are very interested in talking to us further.
And so you work with software people, hardware people, sensor people, you work with the whole gamut.
The people who come to us could be from all kinds of needs.
Okay.
But they're people that need a board design.
Okay.
Or they need firmware on a board.
Gotcha. And so you guys will produce that and take it to manufacturing, or you will deliver it back to them and they'll take it to manufacturing?
We'll get it ready for manufacturing. Sometimes we'll help them find the manufacturer, or we have partners who can do that. But we don't do the manufacturing.
Okay, so complete engineering services from design and helping with bill of materials and helping supply chain things, all the way to introducing ODM to manufacturing.
Yes.
That's fantastic. And how long has your company been around?
43 years.
Wow, long time. And you've been in the Valley the whole time?
Yep.
That's fantastic. Well, Walt, thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of the show.
My pleasure.
Okay, so we're back, and that, to me, we've now come full circle. Walt and the team at Volar are a group of guys that start with an idea in many cases. Mm-hmm. People are trying to build a solution and understand where it fits and how it fits, and they can get you started with firmware, with hardware design, with board design, with building prototypes, and turning that over to a manufacturing organization who can put it into production. And so I think we've lapped the field at this point. Andy, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, great that you interviewed Walt. I mean, he's respected in the Valley, and in his long tenure in wireless and communications, and he knows a lot about wearables. I think he's done a section or so on WCA. So, I would say, the Sensor Converge show is just going to get bigger. I have seen it get bigger, and interestingly, the other shows were adjacent to the show. I think there was a metaverse, show.
Yeah, I saw that there was I walked past it. I was trying to walk in, and wouldn't let me in.
Yeah,
but
you had to be virtually there. You couldn't be there.
I know exactly. So I had to leave and come back virtually. That's right. So it was interesting. Hey, Andy, one question I forgot to ask, and it was brought up by Michael Warren on our LinkedIn channel.
Yeah.
Is back to LoRaWAN. How well does it work through and around obstructions? What's the coverage kind of look like with penetration inside of a building, et cetera?
Yeah. Can't cheat physics, but you could say that we have tested it in buildings, and because of the 900 megahertz, it does penetrate decently well. And I think if you bring your own gateway or LoRaWAN gateway, and you put it in your own warehouse, then you're fine. If you are dependent upon like a Helium or third-party network. There's another network I didn't even mention called Senate, for example, which is enterprise coverage of the LoRaWAN network, and you would pay for their services. But what they guarantee is they have an SLA, right? Service level agreements, which if you are something that's mission critical and you want to use LoRaWAN, you might want to use kind of an enterprise LoRaWAN network. But we found it to be decent. And again, we love the fact that with the right setup, the range is just phenomenal. Right. So I don't know to the gentleman who asked the question if he had a use case, but we found indoors the penetration is decent.
Perfect. Well, thanks for that, Andy. The shows that we put on like this wouldn't be possible without our sponsors. So we'd like to thank our sponsors. Andy's one of our sponsors, and you see our list of sponsors here. You can find links to their organizations at wca.org, and we really appreciate their long-term commitment to what we've been trying to accomplish at the WCA, which is to inform, connect, and educate people about all the things going on in wireless. Speaking of which, I'd like to thank everyone again for joining us. Our next event, hosted by our very own Andy Doe, is on July 21st at 1:30 Pacific, the Wireless Hitchhiker's Guide to Deploying LoRaWAN Hotspots on the Helium Network.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah. Andy, why don't you give us a quick synopsis of what we hope to accomplish there?
Yeah, I'm excited about this one. So this is part 2 of the Helium LoRaWAN movement talk. I had one last year about what the heck is Helium and all that, so you might want to check that one out. But this one is, okay, we built this network. How do you build a good network? And I've invited some really stellar people. I've invited a miner manufacturer, to talk about what it takes to build a good miner, right? And the radio technology behind it. I've invited a antenna manufacturer. What are the do's and don'ts of antenna deployment? What is good gain, bad gain for depending on what area that you're in. And then I've also invited one of our senior members to talk about remote mining. So what if you're in the middle of a valley or a desert, and you wanted to mine and kind of do this area, and you had either A, no power, or B, no internet? What do you do? So we've got solutions for kits to put that together, and then might have a special guest, which will be confirmed. But I'm excited about it, and trying to think of a fun name for it. But it is a guide. It is the Wireless Hitchhiker's Guide to Deploying LoRaWAN.
Perfect. We're looking forward to being there. I'm looking forward to not hosting an event. Seems like I'm the permanent host lately, so I'm glad you're going to be taking
it. You do it well, Tom.
And so for everyone who's out there, we will be posting this video in the next few days at the at our website and through our YouTube channel, wca.org. And until next time, I want to thank everyone for joining us, and hope you found this an interesting event. Have a good day.